This is a story about a lot of things. Hope and joy, motivation and determination, friendship and camaraderie, exuberance and generosity, both financial and of the human spirit, and perhaps most importantly, dreams fulfilled. It's the story of 14 men and women who had a chance to experience something quite wonderful together. At a time in their lives, they didn't know an experience like this could ever happen again. But it did. It's a story about a 10-day trip to Israel, taken by men and women living on a geriatric campus in Cleveland, Ohio, who left that life behind and lived as if they were young again.
Coming home again to Israel?
I had heard about, in a meeting that we had at Menorah Park, someone talked about a nursing home in New York that took a group of residents to Israel. So I called them, and then they sent me a video, a 10-minute video that they had done about this trip. And I started showing it to my friends at Menorah Park, and everybody said, we have to do this, we have to do this. So I went to Steve Rachelson and I said, can we do this? And he said, sure.
And then we started screening people, and we found that we literally had 15, 16, 17 people who were physically able to go. It was fantastic to see, so we had an excellent mass of people who wanted to go.
When the idea of a trip was discussed in January of 2005, a lot of people were enthusiastic about going. About half of the residents had been to Israel before, and for others, this was something they had waited for their entire life. Naturally, everyone had a different motivation for wanting to go.
I had borscht like I never had in my life. I'm looking forward to another cup of borscht.
And I want to see the land of my people.
The last time I saw my sister was in 1987.
Kind of more memories for me, knowing that this probably be the last time I'll go.
I expect that when I go back, that I will find a different country.
I have a new bathing suit. It's never been worn, and I'm going to wear it when I go into the Dead Sea.
My Rav, before he passed away, had said to me, I want you to go to Israel.
And we'll be there before we know it.
Due to medical conditions and concerned children, only 15 actually signed up for the trip, which was a perfect number. Staffing was an important issue, so 14 top staff members were selected to ensure that every resident had a buddy, someone to watch over them and room with them.
My roommate is going to be Shirley Newmark. I think that's going to be a wonderful experience.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Without the buddy system, the trip could never have gone as smoothly as it did.
This opportunity and to be with these people who, it may be the last trip that many of them take. And what a place to take it. I don't think there's anything that any of us as staff could say, would be difficult.
The perfect blend of department heads, nurses, nursing assistants, and a doctor accompanied the group.
When Barbara called me and told me, I jumped up out the bed. My husband said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Israel. He said, now?
The goal was not to turn any resident away because of lack of funds. Plus, money was needed to subsidize the staff. Board members, foundations, and a number of other donors were approached for help. Even 2 groups of teens contributed funding to the tune of $7,500. Because the residents wanted to help, a fundraising day was held so they could sell their own baked goods, jewelry, knitting, crafts, and ceramics.
This money is all going towards the Israel trip.
Even the staff got into the act by holding a car wash. All told, over $75,000 was raised for the trip. To help people get ready and give everyone a chance to blend as a group, monthly meetings were held for everyone going on the trip. Each meeting had an educational component and would cover some aspect of the itinerary, while dealing with things like picking a group name, packing tips.
How many suitcases do we take? 1. Okay.
Designing a trip logo, and picking out tote bags and t-shirts. Outside of the regular meetings, time was spent securing passports, and almost everyone spent time getting in shape for the trip. One of the qualifications to go on the trip was that everyone had to be able to walk, even though there would be wheelchairs and walkers available. Menorah Park's rehab department assessed everyone's physical abilities and stamina and helped them build up their strength, balance, and overall endurance. Their goal was for everyone to go in the best physical shape. As the preparations began, the Myers Research Institute, housed at Menorah Park, began a study to determine how the residents were being impacted and the ultimate effect traveling abroad would have on them as compared with a group of seniors who didn't go on the trip. The staff at Menorah Park compiled medical records for everyone that were reviewed by a physician and 2 staff nurses, all of whom went on the trip. Medications were packed for every resident. Extra generic medical supplies and medications were with the group at all times, from aspirin to oxygen. Wheelchairs and walkers were an absolute necessity each step of the way. While in Israel, much of the equipment was supplied by Yad Sarah, an organization that provides home care and medical support for elderly or disabled people throughout the country at virtually no charge. In addition, the group left Cleveland with the names and phone numbers of hospitals, ER doctors, and physicians in every city they visited. It was absolutely clear that the staff wanted to go totally prepared for anything that might medically happen. After several parties, a bon voyage celebration, hugs, kisses, and well wishes, 14 extremely excited residents, ages 60 to 95, along with their staff buddies, boarded a bus for the airport and a plane for Newark, where they connected with a flight to Israel. Thanks to Continental Airlines, the group had a special room in Newark to rest before the flight. Well, some rested. Others were just getting rolling.
Buddy, how much you bet? Up to 5.
After nearly 24 hours of travel, the group landed in Israel. The arrival was emotionally overwhelming for everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to Israel.
Feels good.
I love coming here.
While all of the residents were Jewish, the majority of the staff wasn't. And for them, coming to Israel held just as much meaning as it did for everyone else. One important aspect of the trip was selecting hotels that would accommodate elderly and disabled travelers. For the majority of the trip, Ramat Rachel, a kibbutz guest house on the outskirts of Jerusalem, was the group's base. This proved to be the perfect choice, as the setting and accommodations were beautiful, the food abundant, and unbeknownst to anyone, Ramat Rachel is a popular venue for weddings. 3 were held during the group's stay. Ramat Rachel and its fabulous cafeteria were clearly home for 6 nights, and it turned out to be an ideal location.
The Israeli breakfasts are unlike any other breakfast that we know. It's very healthy.
Is this too much?
The health and safety of every resident was of paramount importance to the staff. 2 to 3 times a day, residents received whatever medical attention was prescribed. The nurses and doctor passed medications at every meal, took blood pressures often, and diabetes checks were given before every meal for those who needed them. For anyone planning a trip of this magnitude, the medical staff is essential to the success of the trip. The travelers experienced many highlights, but some are important in the context of the success of the trip and what it meant to them. Many of the most special moments were when friends and family members living in Israel came to visit. Friends,
This is something to remember.
sisters, cousins, and uncles visited, many of whom hadn't seen their relatives and friends in years.
It's Aunt Judah. This is my baby, her brown.
No one visits Israel without going to Jerusalem, an international city, where on any given day you can see Jews, Christians, and Muslims making their way to their holy shrines, each praying in their own way. For many of the residents, visiting the Western Wall was a very emotional moment.
In 1967, after the war, the Israelis had to come in here with bulldozers to plow down the houses and the trees that were planted here. The Jews were never allowed to visit the Kotel till after the war.
An important stop for the group was Yad Vashem, Israel's memorial to the 6 million Jews killed during the Holocaust. While only one of the people in the group had lived in Eastern Europe during the war, few Jews are untouched by the tragedy, and the trip to Yad Vashem was very poignant. Menorah Park has served thousands of people since 1906, and the relatives of two former residents heard about the group coming and wanted to entertain them. The first invited everyone to tea in her home in Jerusalem, and the second, a director of a women's choral group, arranged a special performance on the group's last night in Jerusalem.
Stassi's mother was Sonia Feigenbaum. Sonia passed away last year, but lived on our Friedman Pavilion, and Stassi remembers Barbara Enoch, and Barbara helped care for Sonia.
Both gestures showed appreciation to the staff, who cared for family members at the end of their lives.
To the attendants and to many of the staff who were so lovable and loving to my sister, and one of the ladies here today, Donna, where she gave to my sister the care that she needed, the warmth of her affection, and made her life more bearable while she was ill.
Fortunately, a few of the staff knew the family members and hosts, which made the visits all the more meaningful. Perhaps nowhere was the mettle of the staff tested more than the day they visited Masada, the fortress where 1,000 Jewish men, women, and children took their own lives rather than become slaves of the Romans in the 1st century of the Common Era. The day of the Masada visit, the temperature was 104 degrees. Each staff member tucked their buddy into a wheelchair, which took them as far up the mountain as it went. From there, the staff pushed the residents to the top.
But this is the point where the Romans managed to come and break through.
The staff helped each other take the residents down the steep path to the cable car. That day was the truest test of teamwork. After the visit to Masada, the afternoon was spent at the Dead Sea, the lowest spot on Earth. Almost everyone had heard that you can float there because of the heavy salt and mineral content, and about half the group wanted to experience it.
Look, I'm really floating! What a life, huh? Yeah. This Menorah Park's a nice place to work!
Now, I'm still holding you. I'm not going to let you
go.
Once again, the staff showed extraordinary care for the residents, cradling them while they floated so they wouldn't lose their balance or get salt in their eyes.
Everyone, welcome to Tiberias.
Another highlight was a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, or Lake Kinneret. The sea is actually a freshwater lake in the northeastern part of Israel. Of course, the region around the Sea of Galilee holds special significance for both Jews and Christians. As soon as everyone got on the boat, a disc jockey started playing music, and spontaneously everyone began dancing.
You want to dip?
For the next hour, there was non-stop singing and dancing as everyone enjoyed the beauty of the land and the lake. For a number of people, that boat ride was really the highlight of the trip.
So those are policemen.
You can't visit Israel without learning about the political climate. While the group was there, the Israeli settlers had just pulled out of the Gaza Strip settlements and things were relatively quiet. But no one can ignore the politics. There are soldiers and checkpoints everywhere, and the guide filled everyone in on the historical and political perspectives of every place the group visited: the city, the desert, the West Bank. A very special moment was at Yamin Ord, a youth village in the north of the country.
Welcome to Israel.
Home to about 500 disadvantaged, homeless, or high-risk children from all over the world. At lunch, several staff members sat with some Ethiopian teens and did their best to communicate. They seemed to have had a bond that had nothing to do with Jews and Christians, or Americans and Ethiopians or Israelis. It was a very moving and tender experience. In northern Israel is the Beit Sha'an Valley, a fertile area which dates back to early biblical times. Some time was spent learning about the 15 different cities which are buried under the large mounds in the area.
They also want to feel at home. So what do? They build all what they have in Rome, which includes what? A theater.
Those who were able made it up to the huge amphitheater, which originally had seats for 7,000 spectators when it was built in the 2nd century. Another group went down to the main street, which is a wonderfully preserved Roman Byzantine city built at the same time. The sidewalks, temples, columns, market area, and especially mosaic floors are beautifully preserved. Near the ruins is the city of Beit Sha'an, the sister city of the Cleveland Jewish Community Federation's Partnership 2000 project. The project pairs Israeli regions that are economically depressed with North American communities to foster economic development, as well as personal and professional relationships. Members of the Beit Sha'an community hosted the group at lunch and showed them around their new senior citizens center.
So they're working together in very interesting relationships.
While the center is beautiful and lunch was lovely, the connections people made were what was important.
Thank you very much. Most gracious of you.
Nice, wonderful, like my mother.
One of the Menorah Park residents had been on the ship the Exodus and hadn't had a chance to talk with anyone else who had been on the ship for years. The Israeli staff found 2 people from Beit Sha'an who had also been on the ship, which gave them a wonderful opportunity to reminisce.
אתה היית גם כן באקסודוס? כן. אני הייתי משבדה. ואתה היית מהקבוצת הונגריה מסטריט. זהו. זה הרבה שנים. כן. אז איפה... איך אתה הגעת מאקסודוס הנה? אחר כך. שנה... בחזרה. ב-48.
גיליתם כבר איך אתם אמורים...
הוא היה יחד.
Horseback riding at a therapeutic riding center in Netanya on the western coast of the country was another high point. For those unable to ride, the center had a training facility for therapy and guide dogs, which the residents truly enjoyed. And of course, there was shopping. Shopping in the old city, shopping at road stops, shopping at gift shops, and shopping at the Naot Shoe Factory on Kibbutz Naot Mordechai. All told, 32 pairs of shoes were purchased that day. And just so no one thinks the trip was all serious, there was plenty of time for fun. Out of 31 people, 4 birthdays were celebrated, each with special cakes, some gifts, and a little party.
There's a burlesque theater where the gang likes to go to see Queenie, the beauty of the burlesque show.
We just want to say, have a very happy birthday.
Happy anniversary, honey.
For some residents, evenings were spent quietly talking about the day or visiting with friends and relatives.
We came to visit him.
Well, I wanted to see them, but that's why one of the reasons I came to Israel.
To see the family.
Others planned pranks and skits to entertain their fellow travelers. Prior to coming to Israel, a number of the residents who weren't able to make the trip filled out messages and put them into a plastic bottle so it could be tossed into the sea during the trip. On the last night, after a wonderful farewell dinner in Tel Aviv, everyone walked to the boardwalk, and those who were able walked on the beach to the edge of the Mediterranean Sea. A couple of the staff members made a human chair and carried the most senior member of the group down to the water. With all her might, she threw that bottle into the sea.
Whoever finds this bottle knows it was sent with love.
This trip gave people who thought they would never have a chance to travel again something to work for, to get healthier for, and to look forward to. In many ways, Israel is a totally different country than the one many of the residents visited years before, but in others, it remains the same. In the end, everyone found that they and Israel had much in common: courage, fearlessness, spunk, grit, and gumption. The majesty of the land, the endurance of its sights, the moxie of its citizens,
Yo, Maneuver, welcome to Israel. What's up? Bing, bing.
And the chutzpah that flies in the face of frequent discord were all appreciated by the fearless group of residents that dared to dream they could make this trip, and did.
It was a golden opportunity for me. And I didn't kiss the ground, but I kissed the flowers.
I was prepared for what I saw, but it was still unbelievable.
I left with 30 acquaintances and I came back with 30 friends.
We were 24/7 a family.
The biggest thing was seeing my sister again.
The most difficult physical challenge was getting everybody to the top of Masada.
So at the Masada was something that just went right through your heart to see it, and how people walked up themselves without a cable. And it was something that you never forget.
It was 105 degrees that day. Well, I was pushed in a wheelchair up there. I felt like I was on top of the world.
But I was particularly fond of Yemen Ord. Well, I was pleased to know that with all the problems that Israel have, that they have an orphanage that takes children from all over the world.
Plenty of food in Israel. Boy, oh boy. Some people were really having a good time. I couldn't afford it. I still have it.
There were bowls, big bowls and big bowls of all different salads and hot dishes and, oh, the desserts. 3 at a time.
Every step of the way, we had the most amazing staff. There is not one of those staff members that I would say didn't pull their own weight. They pulled their own weight and the weight of their buddy.
The buddy system was great. I don't think I could have made it without Bob. And he was tremendous help.
The buddy system worked beautifully. I think it gave the residents a lot of peace of mind as well. Some of our more able-bodied residents said, I don't need that, I don't need to room with a staff person, but you know what? They appreciated it.
I just wanted to see what happened at the Western Wall on a Friday night, and I was just enamored with just a sea of black coats and hats all davening at the same time. And
felt like I was going back in time many, many years, centuries even.
The boatway just pumped everybody up. We were just so lively and felt so wonderful. And to me, it was like a pirate ship.
In my wildest dreams, I never pictured a 9 a.m. trip on that Noah's Ark with people dancing the hora. I thought that was a real hoot.
Canes and walkers were flying out. Nobody cared about that. Everybody was holding on to each other, and we were having a great time on the Sea of Galilee.
Everybody was a little bit crazy. I mean, happy.
The Exodus ship that showed on in the movie was totally different than the one that I was on. So I never seen them till I got there with Menorah Park.
And I learned something about horses. Most of the horses there are coming in from Holland and England. You know why? Because they are more gentle than the ones coming in from the States. I didn't know that.
Just getting to the Chagall windows, it was amazing.
I enjoyed the windows. They were breathtaking, really.
This was planned for us, and I appreciate that. Even on the bus, we had fun.
I never imagined these forests. I know they said everybody plants trees, and JNF does a great job of what they do, but I never imagined them to be so vast.
They were building when I was there in '68. They're still building. I don't know where they get the room.
I just was overwhelmed by the beauty of Israel and the progress they've made in a short period, 60 years in a short period of time.
I knew nothing about Theodore Herzl before I got there, and just to realize how instrumental he was in the creation of the State of Israel and the work that he had done single-handedly was depicted very well throughout, and to go to his gravesite and his memorial was a very touching moment.
Herzl, I didn't realize that he did so much, and I didn't realize that he did it alone. I thought that, I didn't know that much about him. That also I learned about it.
And if we could take 14 seniors to Israel, I think we can do anything.
For a person, people our age, to have this opportunity, it was like an extra lift in our life.
The spirit of the people, the young people are just as beautiful now as they were in 1968, and there is great hope for the people.